Good morning. My name is John Heil. I'm the chairman of the board, the Kansas City Public School Board of Directors, and it is my privilege and my honor to be here today on what is a remarkable day for our school district. Before I share a few thoughts, I do want to recognize a few of my colleagues in the audience today. Board member Patty Manzer, board member Curtis Rogers, and board member Carl Evans. If each of you would stand up. These three individuals serve with me. These individuals serve with me on the board of directors and serve tirelessly and give more of their time, their effort, and their passion than I think anyone could ever reasonably fully understand. And so thank you to the three of you for being here today. Thank you also to our colleagues who were not able to join us as well. You know, it's an exciting time for our city. I think Dr. Green is going to talk about education and our schools in a few minutes, but since I have the mic, I'm going to talk about my other passion, which is the state of our sports teams in Kansas City. First of all, what about the beating that the Chiefs put on the Patriots last night? I mean, for 41-14 is rough even for Tom Brady. So it was good to see our friends across the state line this weekend get to have the eyes of the nation on the Kansas Speedway for the race this weekend. Our friends at Sporting are on nationally televised TV this weekend as well. And that all pales in comparison to the main event, the event that is most near and dear to my heart, and that is after 29 years in the wilderness, our Kansas City Royals return to the playoffs this evening. And you know, just as it is exciting to be in our city and enjoying the sports teams, it is also a very exciting time in the Kansas City Public Schools. Over the last year, under Dr. Green's leadership, our district has opened 2 new middle schools that are state-of-the-art. If you have not seen our middle schools yet, please make time for a tour. They are an amazing accomplishment and reflect the value that this district places in our students. We've opened a new neighborhood elementary school that is already far exceeding our expectations. We've opened 2 new early childhood centers, and as we saw last week, we think there will be the opportunity to open even more as we move forward. For the second year in a row, we had a clean audit, which is a great thing for our school district. We had a balanced budget, and it goes without saying that we regained provisional accreditation and are on the road to full accreditation. The board and I have worked very hard over the last few years to bring us to that point, but most of the credit, as it should go, should be attributed to Dr. Stephen Green and his team of dedicated professionals who work so hard on behalf of our students and our community. It is a pleasure for me and for the board to work with all of you, and you make our job so much easier through your work. So today, to talk about the work that has been done and to share with us a vision of what is to come, it is my pleasure and my privilege to introduce the Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Steve Green.
Well, thank you so very much. Check, 1, 2, we're good. Just want to make sure that we're good here. Thank you so very much, Mr. Heil, those wonderful words. And yes, I was at the game last night, and I hope my voice holds up, because I was part of that 145.2 decibels where we took back the world. You met the board of directors. I'd be remiss if I didn't take the time to introduce and recognize my team. I'm a strong believer in teamwork, just like I went to the game last night, and I saw a team at work. And my team knows that I believe in them, and I rely on them, and I don't make a decision. I don't make a decision in isolation. I make a decision with a team. And so I hope some of this. So I'd like to recognize members of my team who are here today. Is Mr. Ray Sousley here? I don't think he was able to make it. He's away on something. And Mr. Tunis is away on something. Ms. Eileen Houston Stewart, the Chief Communications Officer. Let's recognize her, please. And Mr. Darrell Meyer, Chief Operations Officer. Let's please recognize him. Dr. Vicki Murillo, Head of Assessment, Accountability, and Academic Precision. And Mr. Lewis Gowan, Head of Curriculum Instruction and Professional Development. Dr. Ann Sanders, Head of Elementary and Secondary Education School Leadership. Dr. Tanya Gilbert, Head of Student Support. Dr. Luis Cordoba, Head of our Office of Intervention. And Dr. Tom Brenneman, who is Head of IT. Let's give him promotion. I'd also like to acknowledge and recognize this Miss Andrea Flinders in the office. There, let's give her a round of applause. President of the AFT. And also, I don't know if they're here, but members of DAC, Ms. Miriam King, President, Ms. Jennifer Woolsey, Vice President, and Mr. Steve Burton, Secretary of the DAC. Are they here today? Let's give them a round of applause. They're important to our success. And members of my kitchen cabinet, my Superintendent's Advisory Council, with whom I meet regularly, if they are here in the audience, please stand. I don't know who was actually coming, but I see Mr. Ferrero, yeah, Mr. Jacoby, Mr. Stewart. Nothing happens in isolation for me. Nothing happens in isolation for the Kansas City Public Schools. It's through the collaborative effort and the engagement of all who are here and those who would be here that we have had the success that we've had and the success we're going to continue to have. Every June, I go to the doctor. In fact, really, I don't go to the doctor first. The doctor calls me and says, Steve Green, it's time for your physical. It is not the most thing I look forward to, but he calls me and says, it's time to come in for your physical. So every June, blood pressure, LDL, HDL, all that cholesterol stuff, all my blood count, all that stuff, heart rate. And so I do that because I know it's important. If the Kansas City Public Schools were a person, which in some days sometimes I think of the Kansas City Public Schools as a person. Today is the day that Kansas City Public Schools got that call. It's time for your checkup. It's time for your diagnostic. It's time to see how well you're doing. What is your health? What is your well-being? What is your blood pressure? What is your LDL, HDL, overall cholesterol? How is the Kansas City Public Schools doing in terms of its health? So today, the Kansas City Public Schools will go through its physical checkup. Here's how we'll proceed today. We're going to take a look at our overall progress that we've made. We're going to look at areas of concern and opportunities to improve as we look at the overall health and wellness of the Kansas City Public Schools. Some of you know the story about where we started and where we were. We were in academic distress. We were a district in distress and duress. And I would want to say, when I came to the Kansas City Public Schools as its leader, I thought long and hard about the circumstance that the Kansas City Public Schools faced. And the way in which a doctor thinks of a patient, wondering whether that patient is going to have the vital signs to be able to continue, or whether that patient is in demise and not likely to recover. Same thing with the Kansas City Public Schools. I looked at the Kansas City Public Schools before I made the decision, and I saw where some doctors may not have seen a positive vital sign. I saw life. I saw hope. I saw opportunity. And so while we were one time in an emergency situation, in triage, we were under duress, we were in distress. My predecessor had left and had gone through and taken the district through right sizing, and we were in DESE distress. Let's be real about it. We were in distress. We were under threat of takeover. We were under threat of demise. We were a target. And we had to face that fact. And not unjustifiably so. Our test scores had dropped. I've looked back at the history back to 2006 when there was MCEP 3. I don't know what MCEP it was, but we were creeping along at 3 and 4, 3 and 4, 5, 3 and 4. It took 6 to be provisionally accredited. And we were creeping along unaccredited, really, even though it hadn't been designated. That was unacceptable. So we were in a state of emergency. And perhaps at the cliff's edge. But when you look into the eyes of these children, when you look into the eyes of these children and you wonder what they're thinking, and last year I stood before you and I said, we have to be careful about labeling a child. We have to be careful about labeling a district. I have some feedback here. Can you help me out here? We have to be careful. Because just when you think a child is not going to make it, just when you're about ready to give up on a child, I've seen it happen. I was one of those children. A child will turn and begin to show signs of improvement and begin to make good decisions and begin to climb out of whatever direction he or she was headed. You should never give up on a child. You should never give up on a district. So I am proud of the staff, the teachers, the administrators, the board, for not giving up on our children. Let me talk a little bit about this picture. Because when we looked at our test scores, I'm going to go here first of all. When we looked at our test scores, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to these kids because they strike me. Malik. I want to talk a little bit about Malik. Malik, and he's not up here, but this could be Malik. Any one of them could be Malik or Marsha. Dr. Murillo, when she shared our MCEP 5 performance, she also shared Malik's score. Malik had a score, and I'm going to have to get it out here because I want to make sure I get it just right. Malik had a score of 399 points, and he grew 102 points. Malik was still below basic. But I told Dr. Murillo when she presented that to me, I'm betting on Malik because Malik has got it. Even though he was at the bottom of below basic and he needs to score 30 more points as a sixth grader to get out of basic, out of below basic into basic. I believe in Malik. I believe Malik's going to continue to climb because Malik looks very much like the Kansas City Public Schools. His trajectory is very much like that. So as we look at some numbers today, Malik is on the rise, Kansas City Public Schools is on the rise. These children are on the rise. And every one of them might not be proficient or advanced, but they grew tremendously over the course of this year. We met them where they were. We didn't judge them. We embraced them where they were, and they grew. So let's look at the numbers. We were able to do some of the things that Mr. Heil talked about because we are financially sound. We are on firm financial footing. You can see that our cash balance, our fund balance, our comprehensive student activity, and compensated absences. This is our growing fund balance. This is our compensated absence obligation. We can fund today 90% of vacation days and sick days. Our debt ratio, if we had one, would be at 2%. The limit is 15% for all districts across the state. Our undesignated fund balance, 24%. You can see here our revenue and expense ratio. We are working within our means and spending within our means. And our audits, as you can see here, in 2008 we had 19, 13, 12, 4, 0, 0, and we're looking, anticipating we'll have 0 again in 2014. Earlier it was mentioned, 4 new schools opened: Central Middle, Northeast Middle, Hale Cook, Richardson, Early Childhood Learning Center, new elementary school, 2 new middle schools. United Way, Mr. Brett Stewart's here, president of United Way. $35,000 in donations for our faculty and staff. Collaboration and partnership being very, very important to the Kansas City Public Schools. Volunteers have spent 60,000 hours in our schools, 60,783 among 1,682. We have 41 different languages spoken, and we have a prominent ELL program. And by the way, we're 24% ELL. 600 sixth graders went to college. Early exposure. They went to UMKC, they went to Penn Valley. I think that those children will never forget that experience. Here they are. My prayer and my belief is that they will see college in their future because of that experience. And whether they choose to go or not, it will be their choice. No one will have chosen for them. No one will have directed them in a path that was disingenuous to the direction they wanted to go. If they hope and they dream to go to college, they will go. If they go to career, that's fine. If they go to the military, that's fine. You heard some of the scholars. Some of you came in early. You saw some of the scholars talking about their early college experience. 18 students last year. And I had the pleasure of going to both of their graduations in the same week. What an honor. What a pleasure to sit and watch them cross the stage and shake their hand at a high school graduation, and the next day go to watch them graduate from college with their associate's degree. We will double, almost triple this number this year. That's an investment in our young people. Another number that's important, $26 million, $20.6 million in scholarships And then the thing we've been talking about, a lot of folks said this would never happen. A lot of folks wondered if the district would ever get back on the right track. And here we are sitting at 92.5 points, 66.1% of the 140, and we are perched and poised for the next level. And let me talk to you a little bit, because this is Malik. Remember Malik? Malik went 120 points, 102 points. This was a dark day in the Kansas City Public Schools. When the new MSIP 5 came out, the first draft, in October 2012, we were at the last in the state, at the bottom. And we started our climb. And many of you in this room were very, very instrumental in supporting, whether you were giving spiritual, emotional support, or whether you were giving your time, you were with us in our darkest hour. And many who said that we were, remember that picture of the patient in triage? That's where we were. But here we started our climb. And let me just, we know the changing narrative. We improved a little bit before this. We moved from 3 to 5 on the 14-point MSIP 4 schedule, 14 targeted MSIP 4 schedule. The rhetoric was then, well, Dr. Green, you and your team, you did really, really great, but that's incremental. So then we said, okay, it was incremental? Let's answer the question incremental. So then we did this, bing, bing. Any questions about incremental? That's not incremental, nothing incremental about that. Oh, well, now we want to see if you can sustain it. So we went from improve to incremental improvement to dramatic improvement to sustain it. Well, now we answer that question. Go back. And now we're perched and poised, and our projected target for next year, this time, is right there. And so I call upon you to join with us in our continued climb. One of the things I wanted to say a little bit about this, because people have asked, well, Dr. Green, and I was at a conference just this weekend at the Missouri School Board Association, and also at the Missouri Association of School Administrators. A lot of people asking, how did you do it? How did you do this, you and your school district? And I think that's the wrong question. What did you do? I think that's the wrong question. I think the question is what we didn't do. What we did not do is cherry pick kids. What we did not do is say, well, we got a cluster of kids that are right at the cusp of proficient, and we just kick them over and we'll get points. Or we got a group of kids that are right here at basic, and we just kick them over and they'll be. We didn't do that. We looked at all kids. That's why Malik made the progress he made. Malik was at the bottom of below basic, and Malik grew 102 points, and Malik didn't earn the district a single point. That means Malik will down the line. I'm not worried about Malik. Malik's got it, and he's on his way, just like the Kansas City Public Schools. So I'm proud of Malik. And it wasn't about Malik, how many points can you get us? That's not what we're about. What we're about is all children. And when we touch them, we want them to grow and move. And we will meet them wherever they are, no matter how far they are behind, no matter how many deficiencies they may have in their reading ability or their mathematical computational skills or family circumstances. We meet children where they are. We don't pick and choose. We don't eliminate anyone. And we are proud of that. So the answer to the question is really not what we did or how we did it, it's what we didn't do. We didn't select certain kids are going to make it and certain kids are not. When I go to Dolores Brown School, Wendell Phillips, it's all kids. It's about all kids. And she's proud of it. We were just over it. Had a young man that had some challenges. I was just over to school. She hugs all kids. Individual student growth. And let me talk about where we are and where we're going with this in this world of standardized testing. I don't want to get on my soapbox. I've been told to kind of tone it down, so I'm not going to. But I know that standardized testing is a part of life, and we have to deal with it. Part of my concern is the emphasis and the weight that we put on it. Because what we've told our children and what we know is that they're going to have to do other things than perform on standardized tests. So when I go through the SMART goals for this year, you're going to see a new component to those SMART goals. Yes, we're going to always keep in mind what the state accountability system is, and we're always going to keep that on our radar screen. We should never ignore that, because I think we've paid a heck of a price for not paying attention to what the state expects us to do. I get that. But we have to go beyond that. We must go beyond just the state accreditation standard. So in the goals that you're going to see, the 5 C's, because these are things, a lot of these things I don't see on MCEP 5. Any mock EOC, any MAP score, I don't see. And what are these? That would be cheating if you're taking the MAP. Yet we tell our children that this is something you need to be able to do to succeed. You need to learn how to collaborate with others. And if you can't, you're not going to make it. So they're collaborating. But when we give the MAP test, you got to sit, the MAP police come around. You got to be so many feet apart. Don't you dare look so many feet, so many distance. Then they'll measure. This, Dr. Miller, they come in and measure. Don't you dare collaborate. Well, I got issues with that. But anyway, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, communication, and caring. That is the... Calm me. You could get 100% on the map and not care about anybody. Care about your fellow person. Care about this community. And so, the goal for us is to do what is necessary for the MAP and the EOC and the MCEP 5, but we're going to stretch, pull, push, and drive our students into the things that we know that they're going to need to succeed beyond that in the 21st century. That is where the Kansas City Public Schools is going. My remarks at the my remarks at our convocation began with the phrase, we were once in demise, but now we're on the rise. And we're never turning back. We're not going back. If I can use I'm an English teacher, so I can take the liberty. We ain't going back. How did we get there? It wasn't by accident. I kept trying to tell, Joe Robertson interviewed me, so others interviewed me. I said, this is not by accident. This is very strategic. This is very intentional. It's very deliberate. It's very purposeful. I get nervous around hockey stick jumps, when you just make these straight up jumps, because usually it's going to come down. I have Malik, the steady, persistent, pervasive climb. With these ingredients, the team I just introduced to you, the teachers, the parents, Andrea Flinders, I see Ms. Kendricks here, I see Ms. Wolfsey here, those working together. That's how we get it done. So where are we now and where are we going? Here's how we've progressed. We had a strategic plan. The district had a strategic plan and a transformation plan too. We have honored that as we have moved forward. But what that plan did not account for, and it shouldn't, when this plan was, I think 500, was it 500 some odd people, came together to build the strategic plan under the leadership of Dr. Covington and the transformation plan, but there was an unexpected circumstance that arose. Unaccreditation, transfer law, state takeover were not in the conversation when the plan was built. So what we had to address was restabilizing the patient. This is a period of refocus, restructure, rebuild this district from the inside out and get it back on course. Focus on student achievement, address the issue. If we do that, we address the transfer law, institution of SMART goals. There's SMART goals for those who are not in education. They're specific, they're measurable, they're attainable, they're relevant, and they're time-bound. The restoration of relationships that were fractured based on the circumstance of the Kansas City Public Schools being unaccredited, and the beginning development of a master plan. Now we're perched and poised with our current board to move into a new phase of beginning Strategic Plan 2. Honoring what was done in Strategic Plan 1 and the Transformation Plan 2, leveraging that now that we have removed the shackle of unaccreditation, and now we are free to move into Strategic Plan 2. And so some of what will be happening over the course of this year, Mr. Heil and I have talked about it, is the board will be involved. It will be a community-wide effort. What should Strategic Plan 2 look like? And that will be built in collaboration with all those different stakeholders in this community as we move forward into another phase of the Kansas City Public Schools. The SMART goals are right now our guiding compass to get to, as we position ourselves for the community engagement, the kind of input that will be needed for what Strategic Plan 2 will look like. These are our SMART goals. This is what we're looking for to make sure that we get fully accredited this time next year. By June 2015, we want 100% of our schools to reach their MSEP 5 academic achievement goal. Each school has a goal. Each school will make a contribution to the overall APR, the overall score that we need. How will we do this? We'll be conducting random checks in 100% of the classrooms. We will be looking for evidence of doing now as we pivot. And keep in mind, this district, this is the resiliency, and this is one of the things that I hope our children hold their head up high. They should not hold their head down and be ashamed of anything. They should be proud, and they should hold their head up high because their school district demonstrated the kind of resiliency that they do demonstrate and have demonstrated. Resiliency is not that you never suffer a setback, it's how you bounce back from the setback. And we are bouncing back, we have bounced back, and I want our students to see that as an example of what we want from them. They're going to face adversity, they're going to face setbacks. It's not that you don't face them, it's how you respond to them. And so, we're going to be on a course through the random checks of classrooms with evidence of the Missouri Learning Standards. But we've been through MSEP 4. No, remember, we were knocking on the door of provisional accreditation with MSEP 4. Then all of a sudden, the whole ball game changed. 140, we were right there at 5.9999, take 6. And then all of a sudden, boom, 140 points. We pivoted with that. We showed resiliency. And I've told my team, we have to be firm enough and focused enough on our direction and where we're going, but flexible enough to pivot when change comes. We did that between MSEP 4 and MSEP 5. And now here come the Missouri Learning Standards. Just as we got MSEP 5 down, now we've got a whole new ball game of rigor and standards. But, that's pivoting. And so we've been sprinkling in some of the Missouri Learning Standards all along. So right after the assessment, we went full-blown Missouri Learning Standards, but we've been sprinkling bits of it in all along, so our students will not be totally caught off guard by the switch to the Missouri Learning Standards. Pivot, flexible, but focused. So you can see here that we're going to increase the number of students this is our area. This is our area where we need to focus. We have done a tremendous job. It was even acknowledged when the state board was discussing us on August the 6th for our provisional accreditation. We have done a tremendous job of growth. And that's what it was designed for. MSEP 5 was designed for districts that may have students who are far behind and maybe have a longer runway, but they grow, and then they cross a threshold. They grow like Malik, and then Malik's going to cross from below basic to basic. Malik's going to keep growing. It might take him longer, but as he keeps growing, he'll cross into proficiency. And so we are at the point where we have now shown at least 2-3 years of growth in students, and we're tracking them, and we see them now on the brink of crossing thresholds from below basic to basic, basic to proficient, proficient to advanced. That's why we know that number of 110 is doable, because we're seeing that kind of growth. But this is our area where we must work with students to make sure that we increase the students who are proficient or above and decrease the ones who are below basic and basic. I won't go into a lot of detail here, but we've developed a rubric to actually assess how our data teams are working. It's one thing to have them, it's another thing to have them working at a very efficient and a highly functioning level. And so our next challenge is to make sure that all of our data teams are operating with high efficiency and high functionality. The kinds of conversations, the deep conversations about student learning and the adjustments to instruction that need to take place based on what the data tells you. And the modification to adapt to and understand what the student tells us on his or her performance. The 5 C's I talked to you about: communication, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, caring. Project-based learning, beginning with the end in mind. We will have our students engaged in community projects, in projects that will insist that they demonstrate these outcomes. You will be hearing about argumentative literacy. This comes out of Mike Smoker's book. He's written 2 books that we have read as a team, one called Results Now, the other called Focus. Argumentative literacy is not about arguing literary topics, even though I love literature, that's my thing. But it's not about arguing literary topics. It's really about a student being able to be the mindset it takes to argue for your position on an issue. And in order to be able to do that, you have to read closely enough to understand what is being presented, and then you have to pick out evidence to support and substantiate your position, much like a lawyer has to do, much like a chemist will have to do, much like a doctor will have to do. So our push, as we transition to the Missouri Learning Standards, is to bring our students to a level that they can stand and deliver, just like I am with you right now, and argue their position and advocate for themselves rather than having somebody else speak for them. They can stand up and argue their point. They can stand up and show evidence of why their position is what it is, and why they can refute anyone who challenges them. If we have our students emerging from our schools able to do that, they will be powerful citizens in their community. That's what we want. So when you hear about this argumentative literacy, it's not about just reading literature. I mean, it's reading close, whatever it's science, social studies, math, reading close enough, being able to read, write, talk, and articulate your position on any given topic, at any given time, in any given place. And then to go out in the community, run for office, sit on the bench, become an activist. That's what we want for our students. This is beyond, I don't see anything. I don't want to talk about MAP. This is beyond MAP. This is bigger than MAP. This is bigger than EOC, mock EOC. But we'll do that too. By the second quarter, we want validation that lesson plans are being done with fidelity according to the 5 C's. I don't have to read this to you. It speaks for itself. That's what we expect of ourselves. And this is how we're going to measure it. All while doing that, we're going to be financially solvent. We're going to continue what you saw on those dials there. We're going to operate and maintain a balanced budget. The board expects that. Otherwise, I got problems. Is that right, Mr. Heil? Board members? We're going to maintain our 25% fund balance. We're going to maintain our less than 15% debt ratio. We're going to continue 0 findings from auditors. We're going to maintain the 90% fund balance for future employee benefits. And then we're going to alternate funding sources for capital projects, and this is how we will monitor and measure that. This is an area that, one way or another, we in the Kansas City Public Schools are going to address this face up, head on. This is an area of challenge for us. We have not done as well as I want us to do, not as well as you would want us to do in this area, and we are going to do better. And we're committed to doing that by 10%. Functional parent groups, high-performing functional parent groups, we're going to increase that by 10%. We've already got with a group. Go ahead, let's do applause. We're going to increase the number of new volunteers by 10%. And district-wide, 65% of parents will participate in parent-teacher conferences. We're going to set up a baseline for where we are. We're already talking with a group that's going to do a lot of focus groups and give us a lot of good data on where we are, and then that's going to let us know we've got to go we're going to go 10% after that. Whatever that baseline is, we're going to increase it by 10%. It's a commitment to this community. That's a commitment to our parents. And all I ask is that you go with us. We're going to make significant effort in this area. Go with us. Work with us as we seek to dramatically improve in this area. We know some of the history, and that's what our biggest challenge is to shed that history. Is to shed the past. And just like we loosened and then shed the shackle of unaccreditation, we're going to loosen and shed the shackle of the perception that people have of the Kansas City Public Schools. We're going to be a destination of choice. We're going to be the place where people want to come because they're going to get a good education, they're going to be treated right. It's exactly what we're about doing. We're not there yet. But by golly, that's where we're going. Destination of choice. These are the things that we're looking at to do to measure ourselves. Highly qualified applicant pool. We're going to get aggressive. And I'm just going to say right now, my communications team is going to get nervous when I say that. We're not sitting back and going to let people keep taking our kids. We're not going to sit back and let people keep taking our kids. We're not going to sit back and let certain entities sell our parents a bill of goods that that's a better situation. When you look at the numbers, it's not better. Got them thinking that they're going to a private school. That's what. We're going after our kids. We're going after families, and we're going to tell them, no, we're going to make choice hard. I don't want people to have an easy choice. Oh, I'll just leave here and I'll go over here. Oh, I'll just leave here and I'll go over here. I want to complicate choice. I want to make choice. No, you thinking about leaving? Are you sure you want to leave us? With what we're offering and what we're doing? You're going to find that somewhere else? I want to make it hard for people to think, you know what? I'm going to leave Paseo Academy where my child is. I'm going to leave the early childhood. I'm going to leave at early college. Pay 2 years free. You sure you want to? You want to go to private school? You just pay the tuition. I want to make it hard. If we do our job right, which we will, it'll be difficult to just pick up and run or get recruited away. And guess what? We're going to do some recruiting ourselves. Yes, sir. Yeah. We're going to get out and do some recruiting. We got a campaign coming up. I hope some of you get a part of it. Was it the 18th? 18th of October. We're canvassing this city. We're canvassing this city. We're coming out, canvassing this city, and we're going to knock and talk and walk. We're going to give information because we think some people don't have information they need to have to make a right choice. We're going to give some people some information. You know, whatever choice you make, as long as it's an informed choice. That's all we want is a fair playing field. We're going out and we're going to say, you know what, you might want to think about coming back if you left. If you're thinking about leaving, I would rethink that. So we all are going to be boots on the ground, neighborhood, door to door. Come with us. All of us going to be out on the 18th, right? Saturday, we're out on the 18th. Knock, knock, knock. Hello, how you doing today? I'm with Kansas City Public Schools. Wanted to share with you some information about our early college program, about early childhood, also our 2 new middle schools, also other opportunities we have with our signature schools. We'd love to see you come to our district. Or if you're with us, then I'm glad you're here and I hope you stay. If you're not, you might want to rethink. I'm going to go through these very quickly because I'm running out of time here. We have several priorities here. Some of them you see, some of them are in play right now as we speak. Of course, we've got our instructional framework. We've got the Missouri Learning Standards, Common Core is really what that is. We've got early childhood education, early college, middle school, one-to-one, Hale Cook. We're looking at this with the University of Central Missouri, something that, very much like Urban Tech, very much like the Lee Summit's, Summit Tech, our master plan, our males of color. Let me park here for a little bit. I want to say, personally, as an African-American male of color, I want to say thank you to the board. I want to say thank you for signing the resolution. Thank you for giving this school district the license to pursue a severe problem with our males of color. I want to say thank you. And we're going to be looking at something for our women as well, but it's a different situation. We're losing them to the streets. We've got to stop this. And so when we match ourselves up against the nation, some of the same indicators are there. High suspension, high expulsion, high dropout, low enrollment in IB, AP classes, low college. We cannot have that. That is a trend line that we must reverse. And so the board has signed a resolution to give us the authority to look at that more closely, to build programs, to build partnerships, to reverse that trend. And so I applaud them for giving us the license to do it. Now it's Nike time for us, and we're going to just do it. We're going to reverse that trend. We're not going to lose our young men to the streets. And so you will hear more and more about this, but this is very, very important that we get our young men on the right course and we get them early, often, and work with them so they do not find themselves, because we all know whether Mr. Love is with the reading score or whether it's with those other indicators, that it won't be long before they find themselves in the judicial system. Extended day, you've already heard about it, but we're going to keep doing it. And more extended day opportunities. New Year's school, spring break school, spring break academy. We're going to extend our summer school. We're going to be practically year-round. Might as well, I told Mr. Meyer, I don't know when you're going to get in and clean some buildings, because we're going to be open 24/7, or as Mary J. Blige would say, 25/8. We're going to be open for business. Our truancy court under Dr. Cordoba is a success court, have been very successful. Anti-bullying, we have several folks who've been trained in that. They're going to turnkey training. Our trauma-sensitive schools, we have 2 pilots there that are underway right now. Learning about this issue of trauma, the trauma of violence, the trauma of poverty, the trauma of disenfranchisement. We're learning about this. I'm learning about it. Our entire cabinet went through 2 days of intensive training on what trauma does and how to be resilient. There's that word again, resilient in the face of trauma. Our children have been traumatized in many circumstances. How do we better understand that? How do we work with our children to persevere through that trauma and their families? We are very serious about this, and we're going to expand this even further. And I'll offer some student intervention, level up sports, some other things that we're going to do with getting our young ladies and young men to have 90% attendance, 90% of the time, based on some activities that we're going to provide for them. I want to spend a little bit of time here because, as I said before, and you can read through this while I'm talking, but as I said before, not only are we going to talk to our parents and students, but we're also looking for quality staff. And I'll tell you the same thing I told the staff at the convocation. Not just anybody can work here. We're not just interested in a warm body who's got a pulse. You got to be a special talent to work in the Kansas City Public Schools, and we're looking for that talent. And if you don't have it, we don't want you. Period. And so a lot of people come to us asking for jobs, but we're looking at will and skill. You got to have both. We were starting to be more and more selective about who can work here. And we turned folk away who had all kind of GPAs and all kind of degrees, looking good, sounding good and everything, but they don't have it. They don't have it. The conviction to work with urban children and the belief that they can learn. You don't have it, you don't go here. And so we're starting to be more selective and more aggressive in our recruiting efforts and who we are actually going to bring into the family of the Kansas City Public Schools, because not everybody, you might be qualified, but you're not able to do what we need to have done. So we're starting to develop partnerships with local universities, but also I want to give kudos to the Human Capital Management Department, because we went to Chicago. Chicago was having layoffs. We went up there and set up a hotel, right down the street. Said, "Well, we're looking. Come on by the hotel here. We're going to interview. We're down to Atlanta. We're looking for a talent. So we're not going to get people by accident. We're going to get people by intent." So anyway, you can see some of the things that we're doing in the human capital management area to increase our talent pool and those who are, and also to take care of those who are here with us and are staying with us. Partnerships are critical for us as we go forward. A number of innovative partnerships, our partnership with United Way, our partnership with Mattie Rhodes, I see folks in the audience here, partnerships that we have are critical. And what's interesting is, it's funny when you get, well, I'm learning about, I came here in 2005, I'm still learning a little bit about Kansas City, but I guess show me state, because we showing and people are coming. So we getting all kind of, the phone is ringing off the hook, email blowing up. I'm like, what? These are people who wouldn't even talk to me. Email, can we have a meeting? I'd like to have a partnership with you. Can we have a meeting? I'd love to have a partnership with you. Oh yeah, well, how can we collaborate? I'm like, whoa. That's a good problem. It's a good problem. We can't, because the next level that we need to reach, we can't do it alone. So I invite partnerships. We may not be able to find a place for everybody, but we certainly welcome collaboration and partnership. We need to model what we expect of our students. So we're going to increase face-to-face interaction. That's what I told you about, that canvassing we're getting ready to do. What do we call it? Eileen, what are we calling it? You know, this canvassing, what are we doing? What's the... Yeah. KCPS, I don't know what the name of it is. We're going to be out there. Two-way communication. Welcome centers. There it is. Knock and talk. There it is. That's Level Up Sports. But anyway, so I'm going to move right along here. We're ready for the next level. I hope you're ready to move with us. We're going to wrap things up here. I'm going to take you back to this. Once in demise, can you say that with me? Once in demise, now on the rise. And that's where we're going. I thank you very much. Let's do it. That's what it's for. On the rise. That's what it's for. The children.